It's the little things.
It's like you brought it back. Welcome back to the Bourbon and BS podcast, everyone. I am Steve Crane. I got Nate Hale here, and we've got some people in the audience, hopefully also virtually as well. We are going to be drinking tonight the Noble Oak Double Oak Bourbon. And Nate's going to tell us a little bit more about that here shortly. And then we're going to be smoking the Rey de Mundo. This is an older brand, not only here, but also in Cuba. We'll go over that a little bit as well and give a review of the Rey de Mundo. This is the Robusto Larga, and this is the Oscuro. So they have a natural and an Oscuro. So I'll get into that. I want to thank our sponsors and all of you guys for being a part of this. The patreon.com/Bourbon and BS podcast. That's the page where you guys can contribute. We're going to do another raffle this week between part 1 and part 2. And we've got a Warhawk flask, I believe, correct?
Yes, should be.
So if you guys are a part of the Patreon page, helps us out do this, not only the live stream, but also post everything on, they can't see that.
Well, they will once the banner goes down.
Warhawk flask. Thank you, Vanna. You're fired. Sorry. Also want to thank Tinder Box at Easton, Columbus, Ohio. They're going to be supplying that Rey de Mundo, which is, again, the Oscuro. So we are smoking the Robusto Larga. And thank you, Tinder Box at Easton. This will be on special if you mention the Bourbon and BS podcast. 15% off. We have 2 sizes. So check those out at Tinder Box at Easton. They're going to be supporting the show by doing 15% off the Rey de Mundo Oscuro now until next Wednesday. Also, Altadis USA, we've got a Monte Cristo White Series Rothschild for the second featured cigar tonight for part 2. Thank you, Josh Bentley and Altadis, for the support continuously. And also, BS Cigar Company, I've got a gold on the table, which I'm looking forward to smoking possibly tonight or tomorrow on the walk in the rain. That's always fun. But thank you, BS Cigar Company. The gold and silver are available at the other sponsor, Tinderbox at Easton in Columbus, Ohio. Check them out, either social media or through Tinderbox at Easton, or if you're in the area, check them out. Other than that, guys, part 2 tonight is going to be, what did I say? We are halfway there, and something about Plateaus. What did I say?
Handling Plateaus.
Handling Plateaus. So we'll be going over that tonight in part 2. So stay tuned, enjoy. If you guys want to be a part of the feed, share it with everyone, like it, review it, and everything else. And without further ado, might as well get started here. I'm going to go ahead and share it while you kind of give us I'm going to take a sip of the whiskey, and you kind of go over the Noble Oak, if you would, Nate.
So Noble Oak, as it says on the front of the bottle, double oak bourbon whiskey finished with sherry oak staves. So the first time I ever got this bottle, I thought it was going to be something kind of like what we featured a couple weeks ago with the Derringer from Rabbit Hole, where they're aging it in New American Oak, and then they're finishing it in other barrels, port barrels or tawny barrels or whatever. So that's what I thought this was. Turns out not the case. They're actually based in Newtown, Ohio. So it is an Ohio brand, but on the bottle it says distilled in Indiana. So chances are it's an MGP product. Don't know for sure, but just taking a guess. But I also saw online, so they're owned by a company called Edrington.
Edrington, okay.
Which also owns Macallan, Famous Grouse, Highland Park. So some big name scotches. And they partner with a company called One Tree Planted. And it says on the little ribbon that goes over top of the cork, every bottle sold, they plant a tree.
And that's true, yeah.
Yes. So you have several companies all working together. And on Noble Oak's website, they actually say, they partner with Master of Wood at Edrington.
Master of Wood.
It's an interesting title.
What was that, children?
It's an interesting job title. I don't know if that means it's one person or like just Edrington, the company itself is Master of Wood. So this actually was first released in 2017.
Okay.
And since then, it's gotten some accolades. It had a 94-point rating at one event. it took a double gold in San Francisco in a specific category that I will mention later because I want to hear your thoughts before I give too much information on this.
Okay.
Just because it's one of those different whiskeys that when I first bought this, I even read the back of the label.
Yeah.
And they kind of hide a little bit of what they do because it's just finished with sherry oak staves, not finished in.
Yeah.
So
I feel like you're like being elusive right now.
Well, I don't want
to be sharing right now.
I don't want to have a psychological effect on your rating.
It'd take a lot. That would take a lot. Let's be honest. Is it me or does Nate look more like Steve every week?
I cut my hair today, all right?
Oh, because of the haircut. The haircut? That looks like a haircut. All right, Noble Oak. Most of a bourbon's character comes from the wood. With Noble Oak, we elegantly marry two of the world's most coveted cask types. First, time-honored methods are used to rest Noble Oak in charred New American white oak barrels. Then, through our proprietary finishing process, we add complexity using Spanish sherry oak staves. This is the same wood used to craft the world's finest and rarest single malts. The result is a totally unique flavor that is elegantly balanced and bold, and then it gives some notes that I won't say quite yet. Distilled in Indiana, bottled by Noble Oak Spirits Company, Newtown, Ohio. To learn more, visit www. That's World Wide Web. .nobleoak.com. 45%.
And so far, they
product of the U.S. of A.
And like I said, they plant a tree in deforested areas for every bottle sold. So far, they've planted over 200,000 trees. So since this debuted 4 years ago, they've theoretically sold over 200,000 bottles. That's a deep in thought hum.
Yeah. It's got some burn. It's got some burn to it.
Really? I don't get much burn. It's 45%, so 90 proof.
Maybe bite? I don't know. It's.
I think it's got a very oaky finish. I don't get a whole lot of heat, either in the palate or in the chest.
Yeah.
But I do get a lot of oak on the finish.
Oak flavor. There's just a little. When I say heat, it's not like heat like it's like super strong or anything. It's just got a bite a little bit.
Okay.
But then it kind of comes out a little bit of sweet, that kind of typical like vanilla. I'm trying to figure out what this person in the cul-de-sac is doing. Got to be delivery.
Yeah, I keep going back and forth.
Yeah.
So this is so it's aged minimum 1 year in the new oak.
Okay, so now we're getting somewhere on that kind of bite.
And then they do their patented compression finishing process.
There it is. That's
so
what I'm getting.
Yeah, so what they're doing is they are then putting Spanish sherry oak staves into the barrel, and then they're cycling it through periods of heat and pressure in order to force interaction in and out of the staves.
So are they doing, do you know if they're doing the 53-gallon barrels?
I don't know.
No. But they're doing the pressurized thing.
They're doing the pressurized thing. So we've had some brands before on the podcast that did something like that.
Yeah.
And used lots of different types of woods in that process. And I know the first time we ever featured a bottle like that on the podcast was a bottle I brought.
Which was?
That was the Cleveland Underground.
Yeah.
And we weren't super thrilled by it. Like, it wasn't bad. We just weren't real excited about it.
Yeah.
So that is why I was trying to hide that about this before you actually started talking about
got it. Ray Chester. Hey, Steve Cramp, be here now. Ray, I'm here. I'm listening. I'm multitasking. There was
because that vehicle's
nice vintage Pontiac vibe.
Oh yeah,
that is trying to deliver pizzas in the neighborhood,
and its fans making great noises.
I'm sorry, Ray. How are you? If you want to comment, I'm here now. And I was tasting the whiskey. This is one that's going to sound kind of, I don't know, odd, but that kind of bite goes away the more you drink it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That's just kind of, I guess, natural.
Yeah.
Which is dangerous because I just, want to keep drinking it. And for those watching the video, we're still dealing with some sort of StreamYard issues with the connection. So that's why it's a little fuzzy at times, but it keeps coming back. So that's good. So hopefully you can hear us. Let's see. Ian says, I'm just waiting on Steve Crane to show up on the show in a striped shirt and a whistle. Referee? Oh, well, just to make Steve feel better by being the referee. I'm going to have to catch up on the comments there.
Ray
and
really Ian are just having a blast with each other.
I hope you guys meet someday. So what do you think of it, Nate? Other than all the information, I mean, I'll read the notes that it has on the back of the bottle as well. But go ahead with what you think of it.
Well, so like I said,
besides the oak,
I'd bought this once before, and for some reason, I remember this tasting a little bit different.
How so?
I remembered it having a little bit more of that sherry wine type of flavor and thickness on the palate. I don't remember tasting this much oak in it. Like I remember tasting more grape.
Is it because it says Noble Oak, Double Oak on there, and then oak on the back?
No, I taste more oak now than I did when I first had it. Like when I first had it, I was getting more, grape, cherry type of flavors, and now it's just a lot of oak, vanilla up front, and then a lot of oak on the finish.
Oak. Noble Oak, Double Oak.
That's right.
They say on the bottle here, that says notes of dried fruit, cherry, vanilla, and spice. I don't even know what that word is. Pervade?
Huh.
Pervade. Pervade. Anyone out there help us with the basic grasp of the English language, as we are not very good at it.
And on their website, they say the nose is notes of honey and ripe cherries. Palate is hints of vanilla, give way to warm spices, dried fruits, finished with lingering flavors of wood and cherry.
Oak. Ray says, sounds to me that the flavor is a little manufactured as opposed to a natural process. Does it taste that way? So that's kind of what I think Nate was trying to say.
A little bit.
When we talked about like the Cleveland Underground, this was a couple years back, probably 3 years ago.
Yeah, 3 years.
But anytime and that's what we found, if they are doing that, but it says it is. So they did it distilled in Indiana bottle. So when you say, did you find out that they may be MGP, but it's in Indiana? That's the year in the barrels. And then does it get the second stage there as well? Or is that when it's shipped to
I would guess
Newtown, Ohio?
I would guess that they're shipping it to Newtown, and then they are doing the whole pressure thing at their facility.
Yeah.
Like I spent a good portion of today and last night actually looking up stuff, and there was a bunch of conflicting things that I was finding.
That's always nice.
But
nice and clear.
Like one of the awards that this got was it was a double gold for best bourbon aged less than 2 years.
So yeah, that's part of it.
But yeah, I mean, even on their website though, they don't give a whole lot of information.
I'm looking at their website right now just to see if they have it, and it's nobleoak.com.
And they also do a port stave finished rye. So they do two products, but the rye is actually not available in the state of Ohio, just the bourbon.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't give shit on this.
I know. Their website has very, very, if to no details.
Although flavor notes, it's nice. They have pictures along with the notes.
So what's the picture of baking spices?
Is that a nut? Is that a mint leaves? A
That's
pile of
that's mint in the back. I don't
it's
know.
a pile of sawdust, maybe. I don't.
It's not
Honey,
a nut.
you got so that's vanilla. It's a flower.
Yeah.
Dried fruit is dried fruit. Yeah. So Ray, to your point, it's one of those things where I think they are kind of pushing it through. Like they're making that process accelerated. It's a different type of process, not the traditional way. We've talked about on the podcast before that not typically our favorite bourbons, and Ohio is not unique in that or alone in that. But I mean, we do have several that are going to be done in that fashion. We've gone over a few of those, and typically it does. It's not a manufactured taste. But it's almost like if you're doing it in the like metal containers, it's, and I this is just an opinion. This is just like kind of like came to my mind. It's like when you drink either like a soda or beer or something out of a glass bottle versus a plastic bottle versus an aluminum can. So if you drink, fine Pilsner beer such as Miller Lite, if you drink it out of a bottle, a glass bottle versus a can, there is a slight difference in flavor. Coca-Cola Classic, same type of thing. If you guys drink it, out of a glass bottle versus a can, it's something about that aluminum or whatever the metal is. I don't know if that's part of it or if it is the pressurized and what's going on there, but that's kind of what I'm getting. There's almost like that mineral, like a metal type of that's like the harshness. All right,
gotcha.
Tony, go chill out, buddy. Don't bite my hand.
Well, and to address Daniel's question, so bourbon bourbon has to be 2 years aged. If it's less than that, like they call it Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. If it's between 2 and 4 years, it has to have an age statement.
Yeah.
Although because they are doing the artificial aging on this,
Put your hand above the table so Tony goes away.
because they're doing the pressurization and the artificial aging on this, the age statement thing doesn't apply because they're artificially trying to age the product. So, but they do. That's why they do it. Say it spends at least 1 year in new oak barrel.
Yeah. And, Ray says, I'm sure they do. There are a few that do it in order to meet market requirements, quicken the process. There are, but then again, you go back to some of the traditional ones and they don't do that. You know what I mean? You just don't have you don't have it. You run out until the next batch, right? So I don't know. Anyways, let's kind of hit the cigar here a little bit.
Yeah.
So this is El Rey de Mundo Oscuro. We'll get back to the whiskey a little bit. And again, it's not bad. I mean, it is interesting. I get what you're saying, Nate, and we'll kind of give the review here at the end of part one, exactly the ratings and everything else, but very unique. The cigar itself, we've got this is again the El Rey de Mundo. This is the Oscuro. So the Oscuro is going to be, it's a Honduran filler and binder. So mostly Honduran tobacco to my knowledge, and then you have a Connecticut broadleaf Oscuro on the outside, and it is a very oily, dark.
Mm-hmm.
Oscuro is typically going to mean dark as far as shade color. A lot of people think that Maduro is going to be like a darker one. They don't know what Oscuro is. Oscuro is almost black typically, or it's actually, from again my knowledge, it's beyond Maduro.
Yeah, it's supposed to be darker than Maduro.
Yeah. So it's about as dark as you can get it, and typically anymore you're not going to see many tricks on to make it that dark. But it's part of the fermentation process. I'm sure some people still are. There was a time in the cigar industry that they were like, in a sense, painting the wrapper leaves to give it that really dark look to it. And you would even have it coming off on your lips and on your, like from the saliva. So people kind of got pinned on that one, and I don't think they do it as much anymore. But this was formerly through General Cigars. Now it's through Forged. If you guys tuned in 2 weeks ago when we had Jonathan Herring and Justin Andrews from Diesel Cigars, they recently went through a kind of a split in the portfolio of General. And so now you have General Cigars handling a part of the portfolio, and then you have Forged Cigars handling the other sister companies. And so El Rey de Mundo is it's an old Cuban brand name that they had for years and years and years. But I'm kind of interested to see what happens with El Rey de Mundo now that there is a little bit more of a focus on that part of the portfolio through Forged, because this has always been, I think, a great cigar, and it's something that kind of just got, I don't know, just
do they have more
passed
than
over.
do they have more than one?
They've
Or
got
is
a
it-
natural, which is a Ecuadorian Sumatra wrapper,
Ooh,
as opposed
okay.
to this one. And it's interesting because it does stand out, and a lot of people don't know what it is. But if you guys can, I'll try to hold it there if get a good angle. You've got the band on it. On the outside, it's completely wrapped in tissue paper, and then I'll take away this before I put up the. So you've got the box there as well. Very classic slide top box. Got the dovetail joints, very basic, just the burn in of the logo there of El Rey de Mundo, and then so you open it up and you've got that if you guys have seen the tissue paper that's got the spider web to it. A lot of companies use that, and then you've got the tissue wrapped cigar. So very very unique presentation, but also very classic. So I kind of like that. Smoking it, what do you think, Nate?
I like it. It's a it's one of those cigars that I think people looking at would get the wrong impression of before they smoke it. I think if they sat there and saw the cigar, if it wasn't in the tissue paper and they actually saw this cigar on the shelf with the color of it, and you tell them it's an Oscuro, they're going to think it's going to be a really full body powerhouse type of cigar.
Right.
But it's not. I think it's medium body, but it's got more flavor than that. And I remember I had one that they had done several years ago, and then I kind of stayed away from the brand just because.
One what? What are we talking about?
El Rey Del Mundo.
Okay.
It was another cigar that they had done. It was okay back then. It wasn't this blend. It just nothing really stood out, and then not too many places did I go to that actually carried the cigar. So it kind of got lost on me. And then a couple weeks ago, one of the guys at the Tinder Box was talking about how he had smoked this one day and just really enjoyed it and forgot how good the cigar was. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to give that another shot. And I smoked it and I was like, holy cow, where's this been from several years ago? Like, this is not the cigar I remember. This is a lot better. Just it has a really rich, kind of chocolatey flavor to it, but also I know when I was dry drawing on it before I lit it up, it had this woodsy note to it.
Go ahead.
I got that on the dry draw, but not after I lit it up. But no, it's got a nice richness to the flavor, but it's also smooth. Like, it's medium body, smooth, but a lot of flavor to it.
Yeah. So we were talking before we went live that I smelled the foot of the cigar, and it's probably the most I've related to the whole barnyard type thing. And then like Daniel, who's in the audience, is like, "What do you mean, like hay?" I was like, "No, like the elephant exhibit." Like it like someone needs to clean the stalls. Barnyard.
So it smelled like shit.
It smelled like barnyard. I mean,
ammonia.
It really did. Like, it had a little bit. Ammonia. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it had a little bit of that. So,
but does it taste? Does it taste like it?
Does not. I've never tasted barnyard or shit like that before, to my knowledge. So I can't confirm nor deny that. However, much more pleasant. You're right. It's smooth. When you look at this cigar, you do expect that, kind of that really bold push on that. And it doesn't have that. I don't know the specifics of like the Ligero versus Seco versus Viso, but it's a unique blend because, again, with like Honduran tobacco, typically I don't get this flavor profile. So pairing it up with Connecticut broadleaf wrapper.
Typically with Ecuadorian cigars or Honduran cigars, I get more of a nuttiness to it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't quite get that with this. And there's little to no spice on the retrohale.
Yeah, and there's no real pepper.
Yeah,
a little spice on the retrohale, not much. Ray Cheshire asks, is it like the Alec Bradley Black Market? No, it's medium like that, but this is, I think, a little bit smoother, more balanced than an Alec Bradley Black Market. Different profile for sure. Get a little bit of dryness on my palate between that. If I'm not taking sips of whiskey or water, I'm getting a little bit of that kind of like dryness in the middle of my tongue on this one. But all in all, it's a very pleasant cigar. Got good flavor. Like you hit some of the notes for sure.
Thanks. What does this go for on the shelf?
So the price on this is actually very, very surprising to me. What do you think it would be?
Well, I know what it is.
All right, guys, 10. It's actually a little less. It's about like $8-9. Yeah, so it's coming out on the shelf a very, very reasonable price.
Yeah, so this one's $8.95, and then the like Churchill or whatever is what, a 7x56.
Yeah, I think they call it a Robusto Suprema or whatever.
Yeah, it's like a 7x56, and that's $9.95.
Yeah,
and the Tinder Box is doing 15% off. I mean, that's a hell of a deal right there. You got a $9 cigar that's, I mean, basically it's like a Toro for $9.
Yeah.
They call it all these different sizes, but yeah.
I like the cigar. I'd say it's definitely worth a try. You might do a 5-pack. And at that price, if you like it, I would definitely do a box of the cigar.
Yeah, I mean,
there's no reason not to. It comes in a box of 20. And if it's a good kind of more everyday, medium bodied, a lot of flavor. So yeah.
Well, and at Tinder Box, if it's 15% off, hell, a box, you're looking at, less than just under 180 and then 15% off of that. So
yeah,
I mean, that's pretty good for 20 sticks.
Yeah, it's very reasonable. Very reasonable.
$9 a stick is pretty, for this size of a cigar.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a good deal anyway. So to get a cigar with this kind of flavor profile, be as smooth as it is, I contribute a lot of that smoothness to it being a lot of Honduran tobacco. I think if they were using Nicaraguan, it'd come across a little bit more harsh or have a lot more spice to it. So I think at least the Nicaraguan aspect of it is help keeping it a smooth cigar.
Yeah.
And then typically, so you said this is what, broadleaf Oscuro?
Oscuro is a shade. Again, yeah, it's Connecticut broadleaf. Yeah. The wrapper leaf's Connecticut broadleaf. That's all I know on that. And then as far as the Honduran tobacco, I'm not sure. Again, it depends on, obviously you're saying, Honduran versus Nicaraguan. I think it, also depends on what seeds and
True.
Are you using the Ligero? Are you using there's a lot of factors that could go into it, but yeah.
This doesn't have quite the bite that I sometimes get from broadleaf. I know you were saying it has a little bit of dryness, and sometimes I'll get that from broadleaf, but a lot of times I'll get just a bite on the palate with a broadleaf cigar, and this really doesn't have that.
Yeah, and I think to you guys out there, watching that or listening, it's different for everyone. It's different for everyone's palate. It's one of those things that, when someone comes in, they're like, I don't want a full body cigar because I don't want to taste it in the morning. Well, I have a mild Dominican that's, a lot of times I will taste that in the morning versus something that's a little bit fuller body that has more Nicaraguan tobacco. Let's do the ratings.
Okay. So,
Nate, out of 10.
I actually added a little bit of water to my second pour of this.
Did you? So out of 10, whiskey, out of 10, cigar, out of 10, the pairing. What are we thinking here as far as that goes for this pairing? We got, again, the Noble Oak. It's the Double Oak Bourbon, and then we've got the El Rey de Mundo Oscuro.
So on the whiskey, I'm going to be a 7. What I remembered about this, I thought I was going to be a little bit higher, but it does have a young taste to it. Sean's going to try some. It does have a little bit of that young taste. And first time I bought it, I didn't even know that they were doing that compression fishing process.
Yeah. And
I still thought it was a good bottle enough to buy it. Which kind of goes to show, like, free bottle, get off the internet, quit doing, a shit research on everything before you buy it. Just go out and try a bottle. If you see something on the shelf that you haven't had, try it. This is coming in at $35, so it's not an expensive bottle.
Mhm.
Uh,
Oh, you didn't have right. Oh, that's weird.
whiskey. But no, actually, after I added water to it, it's a little smoother, but I get even more kind of what you were talking about initially, that burn. Like I get more of that after adding water.
Okay.
It's weird, but it's better without the water. So I'm sitting on the whiskey. On the cigar, solid 8.
Okay.
It's a solid smoke, good flavor. Nothing really stands out. It's not in your face kind of bold. Just a really good smooth smoke that has good flavor without blowing out your palate. And it comes in at a really good price point. So definitely an 8 on cigar.
Yeah.
As far as the pairing, I don't.
Second, they're saying we are not sounding good either. I am not happy with StreamYard, and we're definitely going to be filing some complaints with. Let me see if I can get this back here.
Did they switch the audio on?
No. It's yeah. Bear with us, guys. I'm just trying to switch this around a little. Connection keeps going in and out. It's also dying over here, so we're trying to figure out what's going on.
I think it was because it's.
Hopefully, you guys can hear us.
I think it's just audio.
No, we just have very low connection somehow, but I also have our things. Yeah, we're shots in after 3 weeks since it can't follow it. Maybe it's a positive attitude that's the same.
But no, what I was saying about the pairing, I don't think these actually go very well. They each stand out on their own. Nothing really overpowers, but they don't really help each other. So as far as the pairing,
I just can't.